Hello guys and girls, welcome to our second video, and in this video we're going to discuss about ammunition. Okay, so there are some key points to note about. Number 1, penetration. Is actually the length of armor a shell can penetrate. Number 2, damage. Is the average damage a shell does when it penetrates. Caliber is actually the diameter of the shell. Ricochet is actually an effect when a shell bounces off an armor which it is not able to penetrate because the armor is so thick. Normalization. What it does is decreases the angle when the shell hits the armor, and so overall effective armor thickness decreases. Lastly is the muzzle velocity, which is actually the shell speed when it leaves the barrel of the gun. So now let's just jump to the ammunition in the world of tanks Blitz and discuss them one by one. First one is armor piercing or AP shells. Okay, so armor piercing shells are like the average shells that we get, and it doesn't have an extra bonus to its damage, or it gets an average penetration value, but it can penetrate through space armor and through tracks too, as you can see. It also gets the 5 degrees of normalization, so it is more effective against angled armor. Okay, so the second shell type we're going to discuss is armor piercing composite rigid or APCR. APCR shells get 2 degrees of normalization, but its increased penetration gives it a lot more advantage over the AP shells. So let's compare AP shells penetration with APCR. As you can see it yourself, that with AP is all red and it's very hard to penetrate in IS6 frontally with a tier 8 medium, but with APCR it gets a lot easier. You can see that the front is almost all gray now. So with AP shells the penetration is bad, but with APCR the penetration increases, and you can see that a lot of red areas have turned into grayish black now, and we can penetrate easily the front. Shell velocity of AP in slow motion, and now shell velocity of APCR in slow motion. As you can see, APCR is faster. The only downside to APCR is that with distance it loses its speed and penetration. So as you can see, it's gray where we are aiming, but we get a ricochet. Okay, so the third shell type that we're going to discuss is high explosive or HE rounds. HE rounds are explosive rounds that detonate when they hit an armor. HE rounds have high average damage than the normal AP, APCR or heat shells, but low penetration. Also, it has less shell velocity than the AP and APCR shells, so you would have to give it a bit more lead when aiming for moving tanks. Okay, so switching to HE rounds, as you can see, we see yellow color on the enemy tank, and what it is actually is the area of splash damage, where the shell will not penetrate but it will still do damage on the surface. Some uses of this HE round ability to do splash damage, as you can see that with AP rounds or with even heat rounds you cannot penetrate the E75 at this angle, but with a high caliber gun like the Porsex 150mm, we can do splash damage around 200 to 300 on the average. And it doesn't matter in the end how much well they were angling or side stripping, because with every shot you are doing around 200 to 300 average damage to them. This advantage that you get of doing around 200 to 300 average damage per shot is restricted to high caliber guns like on the Porsex and almost all guns above 120mm. As you can see on the T62A that it can't do more than 100 damage. But with tanks like the Gorilla in the game now, you can really use your HE to make them a one shot for your team. Another use of splash damage is to use it against the low hit point tanks and remove them from the game. Most of the times you won't even need to aim for the weak spots, and that will be all she wrote for the enemy tank. Another important use of HE rounds is to track the enemy tanks. As you can see that the Centurion 7 Mark 1 is putting HE rounds in the tracks and the drive wheels of the Taurus, and it gives them a chance to flank him, and the Taurus gets stuck over there. And that would actually be the end of the game for the enemy tank. Splash radius. As you can see, then I shoot at the rock behind him, but the Eastern 5 takes damage even when the shell hits the rock behind him. That is what actually the splash radius is. Again, I shoot in the ground in front of the IS-7 near him. So splash radius is actually the area in which the HE round does damage. Always watch out for space armor like the size of the Centurion 7, as the HE round will not be able to penetrate space armor at all. And as a result, you will not be able to do full amount of damage. That brings us to our next shield type, that is the high explosive squash head or HESH rounds, and it's actually high explosive rounds in the game, and the only difference between them is that it has increased penetration than a standard high explosive round. Now as you can see, with high explosive rounds it is all yellow, the size of 354. But when we switch to high explosive squash heads, it turns grey because the penetration is more and we can do full amount of damage with it. And the fun starts when you use high explosive squash heads on the FE215P183, as you'll look at it yourself. Anyone who will be hit like that in the game, I believe, would take a break from gaming for a week at least. Now another example of the HESH rounds, as you can see, with simple high explosive rounds, the penetration isn't enough to go through the armor, but with high explosive squash heads, the size of the E100 turns grey, and as you can see it yourself. But just like with high explosive rounds, watch out for space armor and tracks, as the HESH rounds will not be able to do full amount of damage. So just a small tip to tell you where to shoot high explosive rounds. As you can see that the front is all yellow, so it will be a waste to shoot at the front, but at the sides you see that between the tracks the armor behind it turns grey. What you want to do is you want to aim for that armor behind the tracks, because if you aim for the tracks will absorb the damage, because the tracks are a module and you won't be able to get full amount of damage from it. And from the back side, as you can see, it's flat and it's all grey, so prefer shooting HE rounds and high explosive squash head rounds where there is no external module or anything like that, or space armor, and where it is all grey. Okay, so the last shell type is high explosive anti-tank or heat shells, and what they do is basically explode on impact, and it creates a concentrated stream of molten metal which punches through a vehicle's armor. The shell velocity is low, so you would have to give a bit more lead when aiming for moving targets. Okay, so yeah, you can see that with AP, it can't penetrate the E75 front fleet, but with heat rounds, you can even penetrate the upper plate. Okay, so some things to watch out for is space armor, just like with high explosive rounds, as the heat rounds loses its penetrations on the first impact. The side of the IS-6 is space armor, so watch out for it when shooting heat rounds. So as you can see that with AP shells, it can penetrate through the tracks, but with heat rounds, it won't penetrate through the tracks most of the time, as the shell loses its penetration on the first impact, and in this case the first impact will be on the tracks. So by the time the shell reaches the main armor, it won't have enough penetration. And as always guys, anytime you see a tank around 300 hit points and you have a high caliber gun, switch to HE rounds and finish them off. Just like IS-6 guys, IS-7 has base armor on the side, so shooting heat at the size of Russian heavies is not such a good option. Just like HE rounds, heat shells do not get any shell normalization, so as you can see that with heat rounds, even though the top of the IS-6's turret is very weakly armored, we cannot penetrate it with heat rounds, but we can pen it with APCR. And you'll try it again with heat now, and you'll see it again that it will bounce. Again, the important thing that the heat will not penetrate through space armor most of the time, and as you can see with the E75 this time and the T62A, which has very good penetration value on the heat round, that it cannot pen it. Hopefully this video was very informative guys, thanks for watching and we'll see you in the battlefield. Good luck.